Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to Atlanta Grill Company. Today I'm going to fire up the Kamado Joe Classic and we're going to make a slow roasted smoked tomato sauce. So let's get started. We're going to get this cook started with our tomatoes, and whenever the tomatoes are going to be the star of the show, you want to use the best quality tomatoes you can get your hands on. So I always like to use these San Marzano tomatoes that have the DOP indicator on them. These are some of the best canned tomatoes I think you can ever find. These are whole tomatoes here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my hand and lightly crush these up, and you can run these through a food mill if you like, or you can do it by hand. I'm just going to get these all crushed, and after I get those crushed, I took a measuring cup and I dipped out 3 cups of these. I put them back in one of the cans. I'm going to cover this can with foil. I'm going to toss it in the refrigerator because we're going to use that at a later stage. Next thing we've got going here, I've been heating up my Dutch oven over medium heat. I'm going to melt some butter and heat up some olive oil in here. I've got about 1/4 cup of each of those, and we're going to let that melt. After I have that butter melted, I've got about 8 cloves of freshly minced garlic that I've minced on my microplane grater. We're going to add that, and we're going to saute that in this butter just until it starts to become fragrant, which will take about 2 minutes. You don't want to brown the garlic. After that garlic becomes fragrant, I've got a teaspoon of red pepper flakes and a tablespoon of dried oregano, and I'm just going to stir that in. And once I have that stirred in, we're going to add our crushed tomatoes, and I'm just going to stir that to get it completely mixed up. And once I have that mixed, I've got 1 red onion that I've topped and cut in half. We're just going to drop that in whole. And I've got a medium-sized carrot that I've cut into 3 pieces. We're going to drop that in whole. And I've got a teaspoon of dried basil. I would normally like to use just a couple of stems of fresh basil here, but I don't have any, so we're going to use dried. And then I'm going to give this guy a little bit of salt to start with, not a whole lot. A couple of turns of fresh black pepper, not a whole lot there either, because we're going to salt this to taste closer to time when it's done. The next thing we want to do is turn the heat up just a bit and bring this to a simmer on the stove top. Now that I've got that warmed up and got it going at a slow simmer here, we're ready to take this outside and put it on the grill. I've got my Kamado Joe Classic fired up here, and I'm going to run it at 275 to 300 degrees. I'm going to set that Dutch oven here, and I'm going to crack the lid just about like that, where we can get some smoke inside that pot. And this is going to be an all-day event. This is going to be 5 or 6 hours. We're going to reduce this by about half, and I'm going to stir it about once an hour until we get that reduced nicely. We're about 3 hours in on our sauce cook here, and like I said, I've been stirring this about every hour or so, and you can see this is reducing and it's deepening in color, getting a nice darker red. We've got to let this go a good bit longer. And like I said, I'm just going to stir this every hour or so during the cook. And we'll be back when this is ready to move on to the next phase. We've been going about 5 hours here, and I just came out and checked on this a minute ago, and it's reduced to about the level I'm looking for. It's a nice dark red, and it's thickened up. These little black bits that have collected on the side of my Dutch oven, I'm going to scrape most of those off and stir those back into my sauce here. And I have already removed the carrot and onion pieces that were in there, and we're going to go ahead and put the rest of our ingredients in. That 3 cups of uncooked sauce that we saved that's been in the refrigerator, it's time to put that back in. I'm going to put in my fresh chopped parsley, and I'm going to put in my fish sauce. If you're not using fish sauce, feel free to leave that out. I'm going to put in just a little bit more freshly cracked black pepper. I'm going to stir this up and get this all incorporated. I've also reduced the heat. I'm going to reduce the heat on the grill, basically just shut it down to around 200 degrees, and I'm going to let this simmer for a minute or two, or actually probably for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to start tasting this for salt, and I will add salt as needed. And as I put the lid back on this, we will not leave it ajar. We don't want to reduce that any further. Okay, we are finished. This sauce is perfectly salted. And that's what it means when you see something that says add salt to taste. You just keep adding small increments of salt until it tastes like you like it. This is perfect. This has a beautiful flavor to it. So what I do now, I take this off, and I'm going to use some of this for dinner tonight on pasta. So I'm going to make a photograph of that to go along at the end of this video. But I let this cool to room temperature, and then I put it in vacuum seal chamber bags, and do 2 cups of it in a bag and freeze it. This stuff freezes extremely well, so give this a try. Let me know what you think. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Atlanta Grill Company.